Is 6 p.m. We're going to get started with our study session here tonight. I just want to say one thing before we get started, and Michelle gets going on the library here, but Amy, I want to say the article about the fundraiser for Mayor's Youth Council was great. I appreciate that. I know the kids are doing a great job. And if anybody still wants to donate to the cause for Unravel, which is for childhood cancer, please do so. I think there's a link online, if I'm not mistaken, on our website, so thank you. But again, they're doing a great job, so appreciate that. Didn't know if any of them would be here tonight or not. But Michelle, you are the one that gets to go first.
All right, good evening, Mayor Council. Michelle Patrick, Library Director. It's my pleasure to present the annual report for the Indianola Public Library. You will find the annual report there in your packet. There are, that is just a few of the statistics that we collect each year. In fact, we submit 224 data points to the state library every year, and we can certainly go through those piece by piece if you'd like. But what I have done is chosen the 4 that I think will give you, taken in conjunction, give you a good idea of the health of the library and how the library is being used by the community. And the first one, of course, is checkouts. Last year, 792 total checkouts. This is an 8% increase over last year and was a record-breaking year. And it broke last year's record, which was previously to that. So this makes FY25 the year with the most checkouts in the library's 141-year history. If you want to break that number down a little bit, you can see that 37% of that is for children and teen print items. And as we go through this report, you'll catch that theme that really, while the whole community uses the library, our young families are the primary users on that. And that 37% would actually be a little bit higher if we took the video games and the movies and we broke those into ages. So clearly, a lot of young folks using the library. The category there special is our Library of Things, which has tools, games, a balloon arch, because you don't need to own one, but you might want one. It also has board games, very, very popular, and puzzles. So that's what that is. We have over 8,000, so we have 8,745 members. Those are active library card users, people who've used their card in the last couple of years. Those children, those under 20, are the biggest users, but you can see that really, this shows pretty clearly, I think, that the whole community is using the library. A couple of...
Back that up, I'm sorry,
Sure.
Could you back up just a second? So I was
Yep.
just kind of looking at it, I was writing notes as you were talking.
Sure.
But, so, okay, good. We have a good percentage of people even above 40 participating, great, so thank you.
In terms of serving our community, we do provide a lot of services for the community. Some of those are free notary services, free test proctoring, online research, such as the People's Law Library. We also have a lot of community partnerships, really too many to name, A Helping Hand, The Short Years, and so on. One I wanted to bring to your attention was our partnership with DMACC for HiSET on the Move. HiSET is a high school equivalency test, used to be called the GED. And last year, during that partnership, 11 of our local kids earned their high school diploma through that. We also answer a lot of questions, over 3,000 last year, about 75 questions a week. And those, we call them reference questions, but they're not typically what you would think. People are not calling the library for the most part and asking who won the World Series in 1964. Most of those questions are actually helping people with the computer, doing some of those day-to-day things that are very complicated for a segment of our population, such as downloading a form, signing it, uploading it back to the computer. Also helping people find information. Anyone can Google and get 1,000 results, but figuring out which of those results is the one you want, that is where the library steps in to help people. Good example, I think, are the copycat IRS websites. They're very good. They look just like what you would think the IRS website would be, and we have people go to those, and they're very happy to collect their personal information or sell them a form that they could get free if they went to the correct website. So those are the most kind of questions that we're helping people with. And then hand in hand with our services, our programs, last year, we had 614 programs. That works out to about a little over 11 programs a week. And of course, that varies. Some during June, July are busy months. We have many more than that. And then during our slower months, there are some. But on average, 11.8 programs each week. What's interesting, I think, is 27% of those programs actually take place outside of the library. We are going to the schools or the preschools, the daycares, out in the community, taking the library outside of the walls of the library. And as we indicated before, most of those programs are for children and teens. 77% of our programs are for children and teens. Total attendance last year was 16,760. So that number is actually our second highest number in the library's history. And the reason it is not the highest number in our history is because of this, the skylight. Last year during the second week of June, the skylight was broken. June is by far our busiest month of the year, and the second week and into the third are the very busiest times. And for that week, we did close. For 1 week, we canceled 18 programs. We did a temporary fix to get the building safe so we could reopen again, and then we reopened as soon as we could. And that, but even so, a very successful summer with that. And actually, as we speak right now, we are doing the permanent fix. The library is closed for a couple days as they have brought in the crane and are fixing this for the permanent route. In terms of our building expenses last year, total comprehensive 73,017. That is actually, interestingly, slightly down from the year before. And the reason is in the time between the year before and this time, the city hired a facilities manager. And that position then took over quite a few of our maintenance contracts and then also has done repairs for things that typically we would have had to call someone in to do. And so while that position is shared by all the departments, the library has certainly benefited from it. The repairs you see there, those are the temporary, that 5,000, that's the temporary fix on the skylight. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been any repairs really last year for the library. And, you know, the library does take quite a bit of maintenance, and the reason is we're very, very busy. So last year, 82,659 people came to the library. That works out to about 1,500 a month. And that is up from the previous years, even with being closed during that very, very busy time of the year. So in conclusion, that was very short. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I think, as you can see, the library had a very, very good year. And, you know, it's not magic. It didn't magically happen. There's lots of pieces that come together to have a library have this kind of year. But I would be, I think, remiss if I didn't give credit where credit's due, and a lot of that goes towards the library staff. Very hardworking, dedicated, competent people who are giving their best for our community. And certainly, I think, you know, it shows, and it's gratifying that each year we're seeing an increase in library usage, the value that the library places on, or the value the community places on their library. Happy to answer any questions.
Do you do any, Michelle, do you do any trending? So are we still, are we going to pace for another record year? Or?
That was probably more than you, I have more information on that than you want. No. And the reason is due to the budget challenges, we did have to cut quite a bit. We've cut our hours, we cut our days, we cut our staff, we cut our e-books, we cut by 71%. Our programs were cut in half. Our books were cut almost in half. So we are seeing some downward trend, particularly because we are open fewer hours, but other things too. Some of our big programs, some of our programs, you know, some are pretty small, some are maybe a dozen for a book club, but some of them are hundreds. And we have to cut most of those this year due to budget, not due to interest, just it's one of those years.
I have a question on the door count that's been asked quite a few times by some constituents, because I don't know how the door count works. Does the door count take into account when, like, staff shows up? Does it take into account if, like, mom and dad drop their kids off, have to run back out and come back in? Does it ring them twice?
So good question, because I get that question actually a lot. It's a laser that counts them, and we do take into account staff, delivery people, the mailman, all of those things are subtracted off of that. We do know that it counts low because we've done a comparison where we've counted, if 2 people walk in, it counts you as 1. So we know that the count is low, but from our perspective, it's more of the trend. Are we seeing more people or are we seeing less? So we know it is at least 82,000 folks that are coming through the door. Another thing I
Checkout
hear,
numbers
yeah.
to me, but
Another thing I do hear is sometimes people will say, "Oh, I came to the library and there wasn't hardly anyone there. How can you have this record numbers?" It really the time of the year makes a big difference, and the day. If you come to the library at 11 o'clock on a Friday, you might only see a dozen people. But if you come at 11 o'clock on a Thursday, right after story time, all the tables are full. Everybody's there. You might just turn out and walk away because it's too much. So certainly we do see that also. But that's how the door. Someday we would like to have a very sophisticated door counter, but for now, what we're really looking for are those trends. But yes, it does take
that
into
helps
account.
'cause I was like, I don't know how it
Yeah,
works, so.
we've had that question. So we did actually have someone sit and count manually for a while and then make a comparison. And it counts low.
Reading a book, of course.
No, they just sat there. It was a volunteer, just so we could get a better idea of how accurate it is, and it's low.
And just to that point, one I volunteer at in Des Moines does door count as well, manually with volunteers. They know by watching the videos and stuff that it's anywhere from 10 to 14% low. Because those people are also doing other things when they're trying to do door counts and they just don't have the ability to collect everybody.
Right. If you have a couple kids and you're walking through, it's going to count you as one person.
Yeah. And so I doubt at all that you're probably a little bit low. Could be anywhere from 10% or more. So. Good question though.
Yeah. That's what I do get. Other questions?
I have a question. You mentioned that your library programs, which, by the way, kudos to you for having so many and for all age levels. Programs going to the schools and offer a variety, and like I said, all age levels, which I think is a great thing for our kids. Just for literacy and any number of things to keep them busy and engaged. Is there any focus on collaboration with the school as far as what areas we need to improve in for like low test areas and working with them to focus on that area for grade levels?
We do. I mean, in general, we support the literacy. We have done some. There was one of the reasons our summer reading program is designed the way it is because the school was doing a program 20 minutes a day. And so through that collaboration, that's ours mirrored that to help support their goals. I'm not sure that's exactly what you are thinking, but in terms of collaborations with the schools, a lot of it's story times, but we also do a middle school book club and we do a after-school book club for the high school, really encouraging literacy, but most of that is focused on our early education.
Yeah, I mean, it's along the line of what I was asking. I just, when we see the school reporting low areas, if we could work with them through our programming, I think it would be a neat collaboration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Something for the future. I mean, our programs do a lot of things.
Yeah, and the goal that we have going into the schools is kind of twofold. We want to support the schools and everything that they do, and then we also put a face on the library for
Yes, of course.
kids so that they come, and especially during their breaks, and they know our children's librarian and are very. But in terms of if the school is not saying we need you to read books about numbers or anything, although certainly we would if they requested it.
Yeah,
we
I
are.
like that you're getting your face in there and building that trust level with the kids, and then the kids want to come to the library as a result.
Yes, school is a great partner with us. And it gives us an opportunity to see kids that we're not necessarily going to see. Not everyone has the ability to bring their children to story time on a Saturday or whenever. And so being able to meet them where they are is really important to us.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Not a question, but a comment.
Yeah.
You mentioned the program that used to be the GED program,
Yeah.
and 11 kids used it to graduate.
Yep.
I think you should highlight that more. I think that's really cool and something to be proud of.
Yeah, thank you.
So
We are pretty
I
excited.
like that you said that. So
Thank you.
I echo that. That is one way that you are supporting the district. Those are
It was
11 kids.
a great
that-
program, yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Your staff is wonderful, by the way. Every
Thank you.
time I go in there, somebody's giggling somewhere along the way, so.
We have a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I hear great things about the programs.
Thank you,
Kudos to your staff
thank you.
and you.
Appreciate it. All right, thank you for your
you bet.
attention.
Thank you for your time. You bet.
Michelle.
All right, we're on to the next item, which is discussion direction regarding the city council subcommittee policy, and I think you all have a copy of that, if I'm not mistaken. And must be Jake leading that off then.
The use of special committees or subcommittees can be desirable as it provides an opportunity for open discussion and dialogue for planning and future action items. The proposed policy would provide a more detailed procedure for the subcommittee structure, responsibilities, and role. The mayor would provide recommendations to fill subcommittee assignments. The city council then would act on the confirmation of those recommendations. The subcommittee would provide an opportunity for communication between staff, city council, and the public at an early point on significant items affecting public policy or the community. It also provides staff with an opportunity to obtain early feedback from representative members of the city council and enhance city council preparedness for items of a technical nature. The proposed policy further provides there would not be a quorum of city council members present at a subcommittee meeting unless there is a meeting of multiple subcommittees. Members of the public affected by an agenda item may be present. All city council subcommittee meetings will be properly noticed and conducted in accordance with open meetings law to promote transparency. Minutes for subcommittee meetings will be prepared and distributed to the mayor, city council, city manager, city clerk, and affected departments. The proposed policy would formalize the Community and Economic Development Subcommittee as a starting point. Additional subcommittees could be added to the policy and created as deemed desirable and advantageous in the future. At this point, staff would stand for any questions and open it up for council discussion and feedback.
Council have any questions?
I don't.
I have one question. So it says as a starting point, what happens to the subcommittees that we might already have?
Which subcommittees do we already have?
The comp and subcommittee?
Yeah, I don't know if that was like a formal special committee that was
Ad hoc.
approved. I think that might have been more of an ad hoc, separate one, but it kind of goes back to the community and economic development as the starting point. So in time, if we think there are other areas, perhaps finance or public safety or whatever the case might be, we could add on. We've seen that in some of our peer communities, but this is kind of another example of starting incrementally where we know there's an opportunity in the realm of community and economic development. If this is a process that works well for council and the community, certainly something we could explore as long as there's a value add there.
Okay, so you're putting a different parameters around ad hoc subcommittees than these?
Yeah, I think again, I don't know how the compensation subcommittee was started. I'm not sure because these are formally adopted and appointed at council meetings. I think the ad hoc one may have been a little bit more informal, but I'd kind of defer to other folks on the history of that one.
It was intended, when we were going through some, my understanding too is that we did that as a way to provide opportunities for division of services, especially when we were having interim city managers and moving those things forward. When we were elected in 21, we'd done away with another committee that had been put in place at that point in time. And so the ad hoc committees as we formed here in the last couple of years were just designed specifically to cover a particular topic for a very short period of time, and that those would then be good. The ad hoc, by definition, is a temporary committee, and that was the intent behind that.
Will these meetings be recorded or televised?
The intention would not be to record or televise them. We would take minutes for them to be distributed to the mayor, the city council, city manager, city clerk, and the affected departments. We would have these act in accordance with open meetings law, so members of the public that are affected would be welcome to attend. But we're also trying to find that balance, of course, of having transparency, but creating an environment for open discussion and dialogue as well.
If I hear you correctly, then what we're doing then is setting up an entirely new set of subcommittee, committee structure, that if we do create a subcommittee in a particular area, then this is going to be something like the compensation, if we choose to go down that path down the road here, that would be a completely new subcommittee. We do the same thing with the others as we move forward then.
Yeah, that's correct. So at the very bottom of the proposed policy, you'll kind of see that it outlines what the issues are. So it kind of gives high level overview. So for Community and Economic Development Subcommittee, some of the general topics that they would talk about are planning and zoning matters, community and economic development, the comprehensive plan, and then related activities, kind of a catch-all. So if there were to be additional subcommittees formed in the future, we would do something similar. We would create a title for them, and then we would give some inclination or indication of what the topic areas would be for them to make sure it fits within the purview.
How many of our peer communities do this?
I didn't do a full analysis on how many peer committees are doing this. I know that Carlisle has a level of this. The one that we mostly modeled this off of is West Des Moines, so it's not a completely foreign concept for other communities in the metro. I would imagine at some level all communities do this. I think this is just a much more formalized approach to again promote that level of transparency.
Any other questions for Jake?
So you're just looking for yay or nay, basically some guidance, or are we in favor of it? We're not voting on anything.
The question's gonna be, do we bring it forward to the full council, is that correct, where you wanna do it?
Yeah, I think ultimately, this is something that we had put together. We had created at the last meeting the special committee for economic development, or community and economic development. Realizing that current policy is limited to just a few sentences, so it leaves a lot of latitude for how those special committees can operate. This was an attempt to, now that we've created that, and as I put in that memo, some of the guidelines under which that or that entity would operate, this would be a way to kind of formalize that approach and just make sure that we have a policy that we can point to and say that, we're going to follow open meeting laws. There will be members of the public are allowed to attend, and just kind of outlay those parameters, because again, the current policy, for better or worse, is quite vague and leaves a lot of room for interpretation.
That includes public notices posted in the whole 9 yards then, right? Yes, okay.
Is that correct if you don't have a majority of the council attending?
So Jackie can also chime in here. So to me, this is an opportunity where the city would be going above and beyond. So we wouldn't necessarily be required
Okay.
to post those notices, but we would go ahead and do that anyway, because that way it does adds that level of transparency. So as questioned, there wouldn't be a quorum present. There wouldn't be a majority of council present. It wouldn't need to be noticed as a public meeting, but again, it's just more to add in that level of transparency that we are meeting to talk about certain topics, and then if there are members of the public who are affected by that topic, they'll have an opportunity to come engage in the conversation. Jackie's giving me the nod, so we're good.
Any other questions? And if I don't hear any discussion saying we don't wanna do this, then I guess we move it forward.
Well,
Go ahead.
I do have a question. I know that the mayor will provide the list of recommendations to fill assignments. Does the council have any input into what subcommittees are formed or anything to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because ultimately, as you'll notice, the policy creates formally the Community and Economic Development Subcommittee. So to formally add another subcommittee, it would take city council action to amend the policy to insert the subcommittee. So that would be an opportunity for council to have oversight and a formal vote on the creation of additional subcommittees. And then, of course, to the members of the subcommittees, as noted, they would be recommendations by the mayor then to be discussed and confirmed or potentially denied by members of the city council.
I guess I'm looking for the process ahead of that, how the forming of a subcommittee works before coming to council. we feel like a particular area needs to be studied in more detail or outside of the community development subcommittee.
Yeah, I think it would just come down to having city council discussion, on an item and coming to a conclusion that there would be the need for a subcommittee. So that could start out as a study session topic, to address an item, and then leaving that study session with a recommendation to form a subcommittee to dive in further to it. I think the key with the subcommittees is the balance between still maintaining a policy role versus an operational role. So we don't want to necessarily have a subcommittee for every operational matter. We want to utilize them strategically for policy matters or areas where there are significant future decisions that would need to be made.
Would there be a process then, Jake, for deconstructing a subcommittee that's no longer needed?
Yep, it would be just going back to amending this policy once again, so we could just put the policy back on an agenda and talk about the subcommittees that are created there within, and it'd just be as simple as striking them out and removing them if they no longer serve a purpose or they're just not relevant anymore.
Any other comments? Got your direction. Okay. Discussion direction regarding hotel motel tax allocation policy.
Oh, excuse me. Try and connect.
Just hook your HDMI in.
Okay. Close what?
Redo your presentation. There you go.
There you go.
Okay, perfect. All right, hotel motel tax. By state law, at least 50% of the revenue that we get from the hotel motel tax funding must be spent for recreation, convention, cultural, or entertainment facilities. The other remaining amount can be spent for any lawful purpose out of the general fund. The fund should be spent on facilities, debt, or the promotion and encouragement of tourism. In FY26, we budgeted $225,000 in revenue. After our agreements, for the City of Indianola, the tourism and special event funding has been our priority for funding. In FY26, we have agreements with Catch Des Moines and Bravo. Catch Des Moines, we give them 25% of our revenues each month, and that's through June of 2026, and then we are no longer a member of that. So for the FY26, that's $56,250. Bravo, we give them 2/7 of the amount that we receive each month. And for FY26, that's $64,285. We also have given Parks and Rec $25,000. So those obligations total $145,535. We also partner with Warren County Economic Development, the Indianola Chamber of Commerce, and Indianola Main Street. That's $25,000 for WCEDC, $50,000 for the chamber, and $45,000 for Main Street. If we took all of those out of the hotel motel revenue, that would equal $265,535. But if we continue to pull the chamber, Main Street, and Warren County Economic Development from reserves, we'll have just under $80,000 to award to other organizations. So our current application process is to accept applications from other organizations and allocate funds during the budget development process. So historically, in the December, January timeframe, they've been submitting their applications for it. We consider it, include all of the specific allocations in the budget, and everybody knows what they're gonna get. And then we issue checks around the July, August timeframe. Staff is recommending changing the application and awarding and the award timeline to the current fiscal year. So for this fiscal year, FY26, we would receive the applications in the fall. We would consider the funding request in November, And then the payments would be made from January to June as the city receives the revenue. That way it's all done within the same fiscal year and we're not paying out things before we've even gotten the revenue in. Funding recipients will also be required to sign an agreement and asked to make a presentation to the council. The state auditor's office is really cracking down on making sure that we are following the law when we are giving to organizations and that it's for a specific purpose, like I mentioned before, for these things here. So they want us to have an agreement in place with these people. We've kind of just used their application process as the agreement, but the legal counsel is working on just an agreement template that we can use in the future for these organizations, should we decide to go that route. So staff would like to know if, A, you are okay with the new application policy that has the new timeline in there, and then where you want to focus the money. Do you want to continue the way we have been, pulling from reserves for things that we don't really have, or including, you know, Main Street, the chamber, pulling that out of the hotel motel funding and then seeing what we have left over?
I'm all for an application process like this so that we know we have that revenue, so that we don't have to pull from reserves. You kind of said it, right? Yeah. The reserves we don't have. I'm gonna mainly highlight Main Street and making sure that we have funding somewhere.
Yep.
Hi, Bryce. Just, you know, cause we did the 3-year commitment, right? So
Yeah.
I don't wanna leave them hanging in any capacity, so.
Oh, and these are all really valuable organizations and they do focus on the tourism and special events in our community.
Yeah.
I also like the application process and having them come forward and saying how they're gonna spend the money. I do think that's an important component of this versus just allocating money year after year. I would like to understand how it will affect what they receive throughout the change. If you could walk us through that.
What do you mean?
We're changing it to a monthly payment as we receive it.
No, that's what we do with Catch Des Moines and Bravo.
Okay,
Just in the future, we can make sure that we get the money and have paid it. So maybe we have 3 different organizations that total 30,000, but we don't get 30,000 that month. We can either wait until we have their full amount or we can split it into monthly payments as well for them.
Okay.
We'll just work with the applicant.
So for those who are used to getting one lump sum, are they going to be waiting an extra period of time, or are they going to just start receiving a smaller check right away?
I had assumed that we would wait until we have their full request amount, but where we're gonna issue the checks between January and June, we'll probably have that amount.
Okay.
I think the key for that is, and this was one of the things that I was talking with one of the recipients of some of our monies in the past, has been that depending on the organization, they need it at different times of the year, you
Right.
know, and so
Okay.
the key for us is that you have to remember that our tax payments and a lot of things that we get come in October and March, is that correct? Am I, March, April?
April, yeah.
April, yeah, November, October, and April in that area because of the, when you pay your property taxes, that money's then aggregated and shipped out to the city then a few weeks after the deadline, so we don't always have the money in place, and to a point, I think the staff was talking, I was talking to some of the staff about this too, that, you know, if we pay something out right at the beginning of June or July, and the money doesn't come in until October, then we're running on what reserves we have and other things like that, so we need to make sure that the payments are coming into us. You know, for instance, a good opportunity to look at what happened in the past is during COVID, hotel motel tax dried up. Okay, we'd already made the payments to a couple of organizations because we did that early in the fiscal year, and all of a sudden now that money's not there. So, you know, you don't know what's gonna happen with the economy, you don't know what's gonna happen with a lot of situations. So I think staff is being a little proactive here by saying, look, we're gonna look and see what our October payments are. Can we afford to make those payments now, or should we wait a little bit until we get the full amount so that we're not having to go into reserves? I think that's a critical component.
I agree.
We're also hoping we, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we should make sure our money's in the bank before we issue the
Absolutely.
check.
We're also hoping this process aligns more with their fiscal years. They'd know in November, December that they're gonna get the money sometime that next year instead of not finding out until after their new year has started.
And I would think that the only, always dangerous when you say only, possibly the only year would be a challenge is this year.
Correct.
We're converting the policy. After that, they would all be on track.
Right.
Anyway.
Yep.
But I like the idea of not paying it until we have it.
Yeah, and that, I guess, back to the question that I ask is what does that look like?
Yeah.
And how long are some of these organizations gonna wait for their
Well, and
funding?
that's a great point. We can put that question on the application too, like what their funding request is, how they want it paid out.
I'm thinking most of the funded in the past, like National Balloon Classic, you know, they need their money April, May, June, July, in that time frame. You look at,
For their promotion?
yeah, at the county fair, same situation. There were other things that we funded at various times. And so, you know, we get our money in the fall and spring, but they may need their money, you know, at spring and fall, and spring and summer. So I think it seems to make some sense here, I think, in a good way.
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
For some of these organizations, we've already put them into the budget for this year, correct? Like downtown and Warren County Economic Development and such, so.
Correct.
Would we be making that transition in this year, or would it really be a transition for FY '27?
I would recommend FY '27, but if,
I think that we wouldn't, to the Councilmember Stone's point, wouldn't necessarily upset the apple cart with some of our partners, so we could have time to do an education opportunity with them and prepare them for next year's funding with the process.
Still allowing them to plan for their budgets. I mean, some of them haven't been funded yet. National Balloon Classic, still waiting.
no one's filled out applications for FY '26.
Right, but I also think that that is an expectation that kind of went by the wayside for a while. We weren't requiring applications.
We had been, well, except for
National
FY
Balloon
'25,
Classic-
we didn't. Before that, we did.
Yeah,
Mhm.
National Balloon Classic is, I think, the only organization that submitted an application for FY '25.
I think
look. I don't
DNO is wanting to do that as well. I'm just saying that. I think if we're looking at making changes, so what, am I hearing you correctly then, that any organization that wants some money this current fiscal year, there won't be any available, or because obviously the 15th is 2 days from now, so.
Oh, yeah, no, if we were gonna do anything for this year, I'd recommend changing the dates, but just knowing that we have these other obligations this year, I would recommend waiting until FY '27.
Yeah, to add to fund any of those other organizations.
Yep.
So Jackie, can you go back one slide to what we budgeted, please? We budgeted for 225. We're currently, if you go to the next slide, we're at 265 and change. So one of the discussions that you're looking for out of here is, how do you want to pay for all that, right? Because we're 40,000 short,
Right,
rough math.
right.
Now, that'll clear itself up next year, but in the interim, what do we want to do about the 40,000? Is the big question here, right? I assume we have two general options, right? Give people less or bridge the gap for one more year out of reserves.
And that's what we talked about doing during the budget process.
Yep. Because again, Catch Des Moines, that'll come off.
Yep.
So I think we need to look at a direction. Are you okay to wait until fiscal year '27 then? Where do we want to go? Is the recommendation is to wait till fiscal year '27? So I guess that's some questions here, give them direction on where we want to go and if this is where we want to be.
Are you okay with the policy amendment? And then,
Yeah, I'm personally good with everything you drafted.
Don't want to make it harder for you.
Good work.
Thank you.
I do have one question for, Councilmember Dalby, did you have something?
No, I'm sorry.
Just again, kudos to Jackie, this is really, really good work, so appreciate all of your effort into this. Question for council, on the back end of this, I know Jackie had talked about having, an application process, of course, having presentations, from these groups as well. Does council have an appetite for some sort of, final report from them on how the dollars were actually used, or some sort of final presentation, to kind of bring back forward how the dollars were actually spent after the fact, or does that maybe feel too far? Just want to kind of gauge council's appetite on a final report, final presentation, or some combination thereof.
Personally, I think that is a good idea, especially for the ones that are getting it year after year.
We used to do that. Back when one of the times I was on the council. Huh? In the 30s, okay, all right, I get it.
Oh,
Thank
You were
very
in your
much.
thirties is what I meant.
Oh, nice cover.
Nice cover.
And some of them are doing it.
Yeah, some are doing.
Chamber, Warren County Economic Development,
Main
Main
Street,
Street.
yeah, Bravo, get Des Moines, they've all done it, yeah.
some of them. So
I think
some-
it's important.
Especially as we free up them.
Good stewardship on their
Right,
behalf.
right. And it can be done in just a document outlining where they spent the money and how they spent it. It doesn't have to be an actual presentation, I don't think, to the council. It's just be a document of, if it's something we create that they fill out, or whether it's something they create. I guess that's another question, you know, something we create that they fill out to make sure that we know where the money went, or just a couple of questions or whatever. But anyway, I just think it's simple.
Kind of like you do at the end of a grant.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, or most likely, they have a presentation that they're out giving anyway, selling their story, and
Sure,
it's something that they can share,
absolutely.
kind of seal that up.
Well, I probably, I don't know this for sure, because I'm not on all those boards, but I'm gonna guess any board that I've been on, when they receive a grant and money like that, the board gets a detailed analysis of where they spent the money too, so.
Right.
Yes.
We okay with everything then? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay,
Great job.
thank you very much, appreciate that. For that, we're done, so thank you for coming,
Thanks, Jackie.
thank you.
Thanks, Jackie.